Welcome to the Perry Prosthetics How-To video series. In today's video, we hear from Perry prosthetist Michael Perez, joined by our dear friend Linda, as we cover the ins and outs of below-the-knee suction suspension.
So we're going to start by putting your liner on. The liner has the front and the back to it, so you can see the back's actually dark green. The front's got the writing and is a lighter color. And the reason we do that actually is because this liner has a specific profile to it. It's got a 6mm profile in the front and a 3mm profile in the back here. So we want that to be positioned behind your knee. It's going to help you eliminate bunching and create a little bit more comfort when flexing your knee, and especially while sitting. So to put this on, we're going to start by reflecting this all the way inside out. We want to make sure that we're getting it truly all the way inside out, and we don't have any what I call pre-cupping here. Yours doesn't even want to take that shape, which is good. But sometimes patients will want to do this and start to put this on their limb, and what that does is that actually traps a small pocket of air between the liner and your skin, and that can actually create skin irritation and concerns that we want to avoid. So we're going to start by getting this all the way inside out and get this directly against the skin. Again, positioning it so that the lighter color, the grayish color, is going to be on the top with the dark green in the back. And we're going to start by rolling this up. And hand position is pretty important when you're doing this. Yours is going to roll on nice and easily, but we want to make sure that we're getting all the wrinkles out. And sometimes it helps to have front and back hold as well as the side, and roll that up all the way flat. Again, making sure that it's directly against the skin and that there's no wrinkles and that it lays flat. We can also see that the seams are positioned along the side here, so that we don't have it rotated at all, and we have that profile of that liner positioned correctly on your limb. Next, we're going to go to putting on the correct sock ply. We have our 1 ply, which is the thinnest, our 3 ply that has a green color to it, and the blue one, which is a 5 ply. So the higher the number, the thicker the sock. And that's going to be determined based on your limb volume for the day and how intimately we need to have that socket fitting you. So we're going to start with a 3 today because I think that's proper for you. And again, for the sock, I kind of bunch that up in my hands like this, so where I can get this directly against the bottom of your leg so that there's no excessive material sticking out like this and it's bunching down there. We don't want that material to fold up. We don't want any wrinkles. So we pull it relatively firmly up to make sure all the wrinkles are out, and make sure that lays nice and flat against your liner like that, okay? So now we're ready to step into the prosthesis to determine that we have the right sock ply. We're going to get your gaiter out of the way and go ahead and put the prosthesis on. And we want you to be just slightly out of the prosthesis to where you have to stand to get the rest of the way into it. If you go to put this on and you go directly to the bottom of the socket, that's a good indication that things are fitting a little bit too loose and we may need the next sock ply. Okay? Okay. So we already know the 3 ply is correct, so we're going to start by putting the sleeve on. This is the suspension sleeve. You have an Autobach ProFlex Plus sleeve. It's got a ProFlex shape to it. We can see that this color here in the front, you can see how there's those lines. That's going to be positioned around the knee. So we got a bottom and a top. You can see how it's got a smaller circumference at the bottom than the top, so it naturally fits the socket as well as your thigh a little bit better. And then by having that ProFlex shape, it's going to be a little bit easier to bend the knee. Again, trying to eliminate bunching behind the knee. So I like to do this by taking the bottom of it, flipping it back around 4 to 5 inches, and then I kind of pull out on it like this. Otherwise it's going to want to fight you as you go to put this over top of the socket. I just flip it down like that, and then from here I just flip this down, and what I'm looking for is to make sure that we have good contact with the socket. I like to say we should have a minimum of 2 to 3 finger widths directly against the socket, not only in the front but as well as the back. That way I know that we're getting a good seal here against the socket. And then from here, we're going to rely on the top portion of the sleeve to seal against your thigh so that we create a good suction suspension. We need to make this an airtight environment. So we pull this down. We want to make sure that we're pulling it down far enough to where it's not up over the top of the trim line in the back. Otherwise, when you go to step into the prosthesis, there's a good chance that the sleeve could get pulled into the socket with you and create irritation in the back of your leg. So now we're going to slide that on as far as we can get it from a seated position, and bend your knee. Let's go ahead and have you stand, and I'll help you get the gaiter sleeve as well as the suspension sleeve in place. So we're just pulling the gator sleeve up. That's just to protect the suspension sleeve so that we don't get any holes. And then from here, we're just going to roll this up. You have me to help you today, so we can do this from a standing position. If you had good enough balance, you could roll it up yourself from a standing position or a seated position with your leg out front. Again, we're going to roll this up. We're looking for at least 2 to 3 finger widths directly against the thigh here, above the tallest sock or liner, to make sure that we got a good seal here. We do not want that sock or a liner to come above the sleeve to where this is not getting skin contact and creating a good seal. This is what generates that airtight suspension. So now you're going to probably want to do some weight shifts, make sure you get all that remaining air out of the socket. You can actually hear the valve working there. To make sure that you're fully seated in the socket, and sometimes even taking some steps is helpful to do that. But it looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and have you walk now and make sure that those trim lines start to become pretty present. That suspension is working properly. You should feel that there's little to no movement inside that socket, almost to the point to where if I were to pull on that prosthesis for any length of time, there's no movement between you and the socket. It's staying attached and you have a very secure, stable fit.
Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna turn that liner inside out, grabbing the bottom of it. Make sure we have that liner positioned on the very end of your limb with, in this case, the dark green in the back, which is the thinner profile of the liner. Looks good. You got direct skin contact there with the liner. Making sure that we pull it taut so that there's no wrinkles. You're going to step into it and push as far into that socket as you can go without standing. You may have to stand to get down into it the rest of the way. And from here, you're going to go ahead and pull that gator protection to protect that sleeve up to where it's laying flat and there's no wrinkles. And then you're going to roll the sleeve up just past that liner and sock to make sure that we get proper skin contact at the very proximal part.
The team at Perry Prosthetics is always available to answer questions from patients, family members, and medical professionals. Contact us at any time.